rows onto the back of a single panel.
Sure, I'll be right now. Try ordering one of the Raspberry Pis and check it out. Because they're like $4.
Well, I went on there, but when I Googled it, they look like
what's connected?
authentic ones.
Yeah, they look like just ready on you to go live. But yeah, get one. I'll be interested to find out. Ready?
Can you see the blast furnace logo?
Yeah.
I'm ready. All right. Welcome to Blast Furnace. This is the first Blast Furnace we've had back in at Dashworks since the COVID restrictions have been eased. So I'll just go through the standard sort of Blast Furnace spiel, and then we'll get straight into it. So welcome everyone to Blast Furnace. Just for those that don't know what it's all about, code, meet and collaborate. So we basically learn how to write some code or play with some hardware, some programmable hardware. We get to network, have a bit of pizza, and collaborate on the stuff we're working on. As always, we thank our sponsors. So we've got CISP, the STEM Industry Schools Partnership Program, and Dashworks for giving us the space. And I think everyone knows the bathroom and stuff is in the back there. Fire exits. All right. So tonight we're going to be programming Raspberry Pis. Not just writing code on them, but actually setting our computers up to be proper development machines for Raspberry Pis. Ways that we've, through our own experimentation, have found the easiest to quickly develop and test code on a Raspberry Pi and then build it. But we're going to specifically be doing it with Node.js. So it's a real web developer's tutorial to Raspberry Pis, and I'll be taking you guys through it. For the next blast furnace to be decided yet, we're going to make sure that we can do it again at the makerspace, assuming no further restrictions are put in place, and then that'll sort of affect which presenters we get. But keep a lookout on the meetup page and the blast furnace page to see what the next event will be. As always, if you want to help support, you can buy a shirt off us for $10, and the money from that goes straight back into funding the pizza and the drinks for the events. These are our social media handles, and they are the passwords. So make sure you get the passwords, because we're going to plumb them into the Pis so they can connect to the Wi-Fi. Otherwise, let's get straight into it, I reckon. So firstly, to get started, you should be able to find the repo, blastfurnace.com.au. My internet's lagging up a bit, but we all want it, running the torrents. Should be under the View Lesson button if you can get the page to load. So if you can, yeah, if you get to the blast furnace page and get view lesson, you'll get to the repo. And then there's a button on there. So I've set this repo up as a template, so you can hit use template and it will effectively fork the repo, I guess, into your own, name it whatever you want it to be. Or you can just download and use this one, whatever you want. But if you plan on, using Node.js to code on Pi, I'd suggest using it as a template, put in the repo in your own GitHub, and that way you'll be able to reuse it, modify it. So has everyone got that happening? So what you'll see when you get this repo is the README is quite comprehensive. So I put a lot of tonight's instructions into that. So effectively what we're going to be doing is setting up the Pi initially. Now, for those of you that want to run through with a normal Raspberry Pi, you'll see setting up your Raspberry Pi and the instructions there. So a bit of downloading. So feel free to kick that off. You'll need a way to put an image on the Raspberry Pi, and I've got Ballerina Etcher there if you want to try that one. You also need the .py image for Raspberry Pi, and it comes as a like a 7Z archived folder, so you may need 7-zip to unarchive it. So I'll put a link for that there as well. If you want to try the simulated mode, you're going to need VirtualBox and .py VirtualBox image as well. Now I have my own Raspberry Pi, so I'm going to be doing the real deal.
When it says oath mate, we're in Australia.
Sorry?
You got a message on the phone.
Oh. Warners Bay, just outside of Newcastle. Yeah, cool. Sorry, I can see the messages now. I wasn't looking at them before. That's cool. Now I think I have Ballerina Etcher here. But the download install process for that's very straightforward. Just grab and follow this link here, download and install Ballerina Etcher. And it should detect your operating system. And this button down here, once the kicks through, will just be hopefully a download button for your operating system. So it's detected mine's Windows. We'll also grab the latest .py image, so I'll get that while we're waiting. So if we scroll to get to the download section of .py, Raspberry Pi, and the link just comes up just there for Raspberry Pi download image. And you should get, at the moment, .py, rpy, armv6 buster.7z. Must be stressing out the old network today.
Oh, that's mostly me. But he said have a good night. I'm trying to like redirect him to screen.
Yeah, it's cool if they can get to the link from there, it'd be cool.
Yeah, it's I got it. Stream is coming in strong.
I may switch to the 4Gs just to move us along a bit quicker. I don't know if it's not up to scratch or if we're just punishing it with the stream.
Oh yeah. I mean, like technically we're running 2. Second one. No. Go get it. Small battery.
You're downloading? Oh, it's running well? Wonder if I'm just on the wrong network. Because battling on mine. A web page is loading fast for you guys? The LMC? Okay, I'll switch to that one. What's the password for that bad boy? Connected automatically, so I've been on it before. Oh, that's much better. Now we're cooking. Here we go. So, have you guys got the downloads going? Because what we're also going to do if you don't have it is we'll go through the Pi setup in a second, but if we want to kick another download off, we also want VS Code with the SSH plugin. So you can, again, install that. Both links here. I think I have it cooking already. Yep, yeah, I got it going. So what I will do is I'm going to, okay, I got the repo cloned, the latest and greatest. This is the Reddit stream. If you're watching on the Reddit stream and you want to follow along with what we're actually doing on the computer, there is a YouTube live link there, or is it a Twitch link?
I'll tell YouTube.
YouTube.
Oh, they really like your stuff. They want an extra hour of your talking. And how it works is that stream you're given the 45-minute time slot.
All right.
So,
well, we got an extra hour of talking to do, so that's lucky.
Well, basically they've donated money for you to extend your time. So it's good courtesy to like say thanks.
Oh.
Thanks for the extended time.
Well, thank you very much for the extended time. We we definitely have the content to cover it.
That's unreal. Thanks, guys.
So, how are we traveling? We ready to start flashing these things? All right. So you should have downloaded the .py image, so you will have to extract that. So for me, it's just a matter of right-clicking, extract all 7-zip. So I've got that extracted. Now you want to run Ballerina Etcher. So if it installed correctly, it should either be a desktop icon on the desktop, or it'll be in the start menu. And you'll get a screen like this. So the first thing you want to do is select your image, in this case .py, and then select your target. You should have an SD card selected. See if I can get this one going.
Just been awarded more airtime.
All right, thank you very much for the extra airtime. Here we go. Okay, so I have a .py, my SD card's been detected. I'll select it. It does give you a warning because I'm using a 64 gig, and if you use a 64 gig SD card or larger, it will say that maybe this is not the removable memory you actually wanted to use, but in this case, I'm pretty sure it is. So continue. On Windows, you'll have to allow it to access, basically disk part is what it's accessing underneath the covers. Ballerina Etcher has a special version of disk part. And it'll flash away, and it won't take long. Liam, do me a favour. Can you just ring that number back? Ring it back. I think it might be the food. All right, 80%.
Just quickly explain what this is for them.
All right, so yeah, for anyone that's just jumped on board, basically what we're doing is using Ballerina Etcher to flash the Raspberry Pi's SD card with .py. So if anyone is wondering what tutorial we're following along with, you can go to blastfurnace.com.au and hit view lesson, and you'll get straight to the GitHub repo, and the README is basically what we're following. There's steps in that. So that's successfully flashed. Flash is complete. Could flash another if we wanted, but we don't need to. So what we're going to do now is actually take the SD card out and then plug it back into the computer, so the computer picks up the drive. I only do this because on some computers it doesn't, once it's been flashed, it doesn't come back on straight away. You have to unplug it and replug it back in. So once you open this, .py, to basically get your Raspberry Pi up and running, especially if we're going to run headless, which is what we will do.
You got a message.
For this demo here, we'll be using Raspberry Pi 4s, but we also have Raspberry Pi 0s, and is yours a 3, Darcy, as well there? Yeah, so we're covering all bases. This will work with any of the Raspberry Pi types. So I don't know if you guys can see that, if it's clear, but effectively .py, when you open the SD card you just flashed, it has this really cool .py.txt where we can do some configuring. So if you actually open this up, you'll see a whole bunch of settings that you can configure straight out of the box with. So this is really good for headless setup. So like straight away, one of the ones I like to change is the auto setup keyboard layout. So I'm going to change mine to US. And you can change the time zone here. So we're going to be operating in Australia. Sydney is one of the time zones. Now, also what we're going to do is enable the Wi-Fi. This is the most important one. So we're going to set up Wi-Fi enabled to 1. And Don't know if this is going to help us or not, but I changed the host name to something unique for your device. So I'm going to call mine CamsPy. They're pretty much the stock standard ones I change before I get the Raspberry Pi going. There's a heap in here. If you want to have a look, you can set up a heap of different things. You can set up your Ethernet to be static. You can disable your Wi-Fi and just run off Ethernet if you wanted to. How it logs in when it boots, when your Raspberry Pi boots. So there's this really cool setting. I'll see if I can find it here. Login, auto start target index. So you can actually get this to start up using these settings here. You can actually get this to start up with root being logged in or whatever user you want being logged in straight at the gates. But that's what we want to change there right now. And then what we're going to do is save that, close it, and open this Diet Pi Wi-Fi text. In here is where we want to set the SSID for our current site, and that is, if I look it up, dash guess for me. Different codes for different Pis. So I'm not 100% sure what you mean by codes there, but this is fairly generic. This image will work for any Pi, and you just configure it. These are all user configurations. Yeah, if you want to see the screen, we actually got it running. Like we've got a proper a screen stream to YouTube. We'll get the link in the comments there. So what we're doing dash guest. No, we want to put that is our SSID. So put that in there, and then the key. What was our key for dash guest? Is that right? All right, I'll capitalize it just to be safe. All right, so now we should be right. So all we need to do now is actually disconnect the Pi, disconnect the SD card, plug it into the Pi, power the Pi up, give it a second or two, and it should connect to our Wi-Fi network. If you're following at home, you can also just Ethernet straight into your own router. You don't necessarily need the Wi-Fi, but we are going to be running on Wi-Fi here. And mine's booting up. So the trick will be figuring out what your IP address is for your Pi. Juice. You can fing it, but which one? I don't know if the host name will come up first. setup. That's the thing I'm worried about, because we set unique host names, but I think on first setup it might be the default .py one. So if we figure out between us which IP, we'll just all connect to a different one and configure one of them that we connect to, right? Well, actually, we've all got a different Raspberry Pi, so if we can check the Pi type, we should be sweet. So if I go back, so what we'll do is we'll try and see if we can figure out if they're connected to the network. I use Fing, and there is Fing desktop out now. So let's have a look and see what we can find. Maybe it won't let me because of the network type. Sweet. No, thank you for the time extension. I want to keep my manners in check.
This is about being streamed, man. It's all about engagement.
I'm engaged. You got my phone?
Oh, yeah. Oh, and I was wrong. It's not by minutes. It's by like seconds. So they gave you like extra minutes. So that was an extra minute. Oh, legendary. How much are these guys?
So we've got to try and find out IP addresses. Does Fing look like it's turned up anything for you guys? Might be a limitation of the... it may not let us trawl the guest network. That's what my thoughts are. What's the password there? 8TP.
Got a comment?
2 and 3. Just someone trolling.
No. Like, it's a genuine comment, so respond to it.
If all teachers look like this, I'd have gotten accepted into Harvard.
I'm not sure if it's a bot though. I'm just gonna do some quick background check.
Yeah, nice.
Just like the Florida man. That looks pretty genuine, dude. That is a genuine compliment.
So we can't scan this guest network that we're on. So I want to get this happening. So let's have a look here.
Comment. Time extension.
Time extension. Thank you.
Comment 2.
So we're using basically all the Raspberry Pis, and we're basically going to get it set your computer up to program Raspberry Pis with Node.js. That's what we're getting to. We've got a few guys here in the room following along, and right now we're just trying to get everyone's Pis connected and set up. So what basically, what I might do is, while we're working through that, is if you scroll up, there are links to both the live stream and the GitHub repo with the README that we're following along with. And what I'll do is I'll also take you through the simulated Raspberry Pi setup as well. So on the README, you'll see there's a download for VirtualBox. And I'm running on Windows, so I'm going to use the Windows hosts. Hopefully for those that they're jumping on the Reddit stream there, that we can't stream this computer screen through Reddit, but what we can do is you can get onto our YouTube live stream. Right.
But that also means you won't be able to see his webcam face.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you'll have to make the difficult decision of learning useful things or seeing his face.
And looking at me, that's right. Tough choices. We're all got to make sacrifices, I guess.
Or if it's fun, if you have 2 windows.
Or you could open 2 windows. Have your cake and eat it too. So I've got VirtualBox installed now. I'm just going to run that up. So that's running, and what I'm going to do is just go back to my repo here, and we'll get the Diet Pi actually very conveniently has a VirtualBox image for it. So if we click on that and download, so this is a way to basically, if you don't have a Raspberry Pi on you, but you still want to test your development against the Raspberry Pi OS or whatever OS you want to run on the Raspberry Pi. In our case, we're going to use Diet Pi because we want something lightweight that's going to run not too much bloatware coming with it. VirtualBox and the Diet Pi VirtualBox image is a great way to do it. I will say the downside to that is that it isn't an ARM architecture. It is going to use your architecture of the PC that's running VirtualBox. So ours is going to be an x86 architecture. Unfortunately, it's not going to allow you to build for ARM, but it will allow you to basically run through the process, still test things like Node.js, which is going to run across things quite well. You're only going to hit problems where we're trying to test things that are native to the Raspberry Pi, like IO-based libraries, trying to toggle IO pins or something like that. It's obviously not going to work on your Windows PC in VirtualBox.
Unrelated question: pies or sausage rolls?
I think I'm more of a meat pie kind of guy over the sausage roll. I feel like I have too many bad experiences with cold petrol station sausage rolls. I've never really had a bad pie. So we've extracted that VirtualBox image now. To set this up, double click on it, import all the defaults, and it basically gets your Diet Pi virtual computer running. What we can do is I'm going to configure mine to match the specs of the Raspberry Pi 4. So I'm going to change the RAM to 4 gigabytes or 4096 megabytes. And CPUs, let's have a look here. I want 4 CPUs as well. Processor, I'm going to give it 4 cores, just like the Raspberry Pi 4. So I'm running my 4 gigabyte, 4 quad core Raspberry Pi simulation. So you hit start and it'll run it up. For you guys, so we can't access it through this network. You got a what? Oh, access point booting up. So you guys are going to connect to that guy. So, okay, so if we want to do that, the easiest way to correct the Wi-Fi password, reflash it. Just pull the SD card out, reflash it, change the Wi-Fi SSID and key to Eric's router, and we'll try and use that. So on the VirtualBox, we're going to go into the DietPy setup. And so while you guys are waiting, what we'll do is, if you guys sort of take notes, there's not too many custom configurations when you do the DietPy. It's pretty straightforward. It's basically just clicking through. Default passwords, DietPy. It comes with the image. So let's have a look. Oh, we're going to have more network problems here. Okay. I'm going to run. Actually, I think I might just need to patch my VirtualBox through to my Wi-Fi. Let's have a look at my settings here. Network. Oh yeah, I got the wireless adapter. That's fine. I might just run my hotspot. Connect. All right.
Can you give a quick intro? Someone joined us on Twitch. What are you doing?
Yeah, so right now we're basically setting up a simulated Raspberry Pi environment using VirtualBox that we're going to use to demonstrate how to sort of develop with a Raspberry Pi when you haven't got the actual hardware with you. So I'm running the DietPy image from VirtualBox. I'm having trouble getting it to patch through to my network from VirtualBox. All right.
Tell them the inspiration behind on your ship.
So the blast furnace, I guess the blast furnace brand came from the fact that Newcastle has back in the old BHP days a very large blast furnace, and I guess the logo is sort of the flame to represent the blast furnace, but then we've got the parentheses around it to sort of represent the code aspect of it. So the blast furnace is an event that we're running once a month to try and help people learn how to code and play with hardware and different devices. And yeah, it sort of originated from the town, the fact that the town used to be very heavily based around its blast furnace, which was the big BHP steel factory.
The comment was that you thought it was Goku's hair.
I'd make the association. Dragon Ball Z, been many a year since I've watched it actually. So right now I'm stuck at trying to get my VirtualBox network access. Let's see if we can figure that out on the fly.
Cam, you have to shout out someone called Angerblade in the first slice. We've got someone tuning in. From America. From America, really? Yeah. Unbelievable. It's 4 a.m. over there.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Early start.
So yeah, you have to eat. You have to dedicate the first slice you eat to Angerblade. We'll make sure he does it. Okay.
I'll be held to it. Okay.
Punching flies and ladder merger one and sit right. Okay.
Sorry.
You gotta keep an eye on that on those comments, bud. Latter mulga and punching flies would like sit back on what you're doing, what is all this about. Just the elevator pitch.
So basically, we're doing a tutorial where we're basically for web developers to work with Raspberry Pi. So this is a tutorial on basically how to set up your computer to develop Node.js applications on a Raspberry Pi. The most efficient way to test code, run code from your dev machine, and have it running and tested against the little ARM SBCs or single board computers. So right now there is a GitHub link with a bit of a README and steps if you want to either push through or push along or catch up. And there is a YouTube live stream about what we're doing as well. Right now the bottleneck is I was demonstrating VirtualBox as a simulated Raspberry Pi environment, but we're having VirtualBox won't forward its network access to this particular machine that I'm on. So
it's not a lot. We have 24 watches. We don't have a lot of airtime left. We have about 5 minutes of airtime left.
okay.
So while we can set up a new stream, it would be a good idea to redirect to the posted YouTube channel.
Yes.
We're also planning to go to another Reddit stream for it.
Yeah. So yeah, the Reddit stream right now is looks like we're running out of airtime, but we do have this all running on a YouTube link, which is in the comments. So jump on the YouTube link, and if you want to keep following us along, we should be able to spin up another Reddit stream shortly as well. But looks like, yeah, this one we're going to run out of time. So definitely jump on the YouTube link.
Fly says I've been putting off buying a pie. Guess I will now.
Yeah, look, honestly, especially if you're in that JavaScript land, like it actually runs really well, like quite efficiently. On top of that, using package, which is something I hope to get to by the end of this tutorial, you can create builds on your Raspberry Pi, like ARM builds that you can then distribute and put into the releases folder and whatnot of your GitHub profiles. So I actually find it's been working really well for creating applications that require a good, especially if you want one that has like a web interface, a really nice UI based on some JavaScript framework, Angular, React, or whatever. It's really good to be able to use Node.js to serve that up for you. A lot of great libraries for interfacing with the low-level hardware as well, as far as like the I/O pins and things like that. And as you know, Node.js itself is pretty powerful with regards to just natively using the operating system that it's running on. So I'm going to reflash mine. I'm going to change the Wi-Fi network. If you're just looking now, we're just flashing a Raspberry Pi SD with Bale and an etcher. Again, jump on the GitHub link if you do want to catch up. The steps are in the README. Is your network going, Eric? Sweet. I'm going to jump on it. And then when we have a break in a second, I'll I'll sort out the VirtualBox networking issue. So when we come back, I can demonstrate that as well. It's working on my other computer. This computer maybe has some sort of firewall settings that are stopping me.
A few minutes of airtime left. We'll make a switch to distance socializing, but like when we spin up the stream again.
Yep. I'm gonna do a bad thing, turn my firewall off, and see if I can get it to work.
Do another outro at the 1 minute mark.
All right, you tell me when. All right. She's very vulnerable now, this PC. Fingers crossed. I've also just reflashed my Raspberry Pi because I'm going to change the Wi-Fi SSID that's on it. So I'm booting up VirtualBox in the background, but while we're here, I'm going to change the Wi-Fi SSID.
Punchy Flies has just declared.
I'm going in. Yeah, I thought it would help my situation, but it has not.
1 minute left.
All right, so yeah, we run out of airtime on this this Reddit stream, so we're going to check the links to see where we're moving, or jump on the YouTube stream as well, or there's a Twitch stream. Are they all on the chat there? All the links are in the chat, so if you want to keep following us along, jump on there.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for giving us the extra airtime. We went a lot longer than what we thought we were going to be able to get out of this one stream, so thanks very much. And thanks for your comments. Please keep following us along. All right, jump on the YouTube or the Twitch stream.
3, 2,
Thanks, everyone.
1. Oh, look at that! These are your stats. 345 unique watches.
Wow.
20 upvotes.
Nice.
Dude, that's sick.
Their stats.
How awesome is that, man?
So good.
Like I said, Reddit is like the Wild West right now. Anyone can be famous like real quick.
But we're still running the YouTube link here, so...
Can we plug our Blast Furnace page then?
I already have.
You have?
I've been supporting it, saying, oh, this is where the lesson is.
For those watching on YouTube still, I'm just reconfiguring my Raspberry Pi. What's our SSID, etc. So this, if you're setting up the Pi for the first time, and just in case you're jumping on with the Diet Pi Wi-Fi config on the SD card, you can actually put this in. So you can set it up headless basically. Lowercase. Like that. Eight, 2, 1, like that.
Okay.
All right, so we should be able to get this guy going. So now I've entered that, save that. You guys get stuck into the food too, don't wait for me.
You are on distant socializing.
All right, we're back.
Think of it as an entirely new audience. So give an introduction, whatever.
Okay. Welcome everyone that's jumping on the Reddit stream here. We're basically what we're doing here right now is taking you through how to set up your Raspberry Pi for Node.js development. The quickest way basically to write, deploy, and test code on a Raspberry Pi using Node.js. So a really good introduction to Raspberry Pi for web developers. So basically what I've just done is I'm just booting up a Raspberry Pi that I've imaged. Were you guys able to see yours on the network? What's that? Didn't work. Standard.
Just trying to locate one up.
All right, so my Raspberry Pi is booting up. Interestingly, I powered it on and first power and it didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So I've recycled the power and now I can see the little green light flashing away, beating its little heart out. So hopefully it's booting up and connecting to our Wi-Fi network. We've got to put our, you can follow us, we've got a YouTube link if you want to see what's actually happening on our development machines as we're setting this up. We've also got a Twitch feed. And if you go to blastfurnace.com.au, you can view the lesson, to find the lesson, which is just a GitHub repo that you can use as a template. It's got the README in there to sort of step you through what we've been through so far. Right now, we're just at the stage of setting up our Raspberry Pi and connecting to it. Just waiting for your, I can see the John's Mobile 5G network.
Extended time.
Thank you very much for the extended time. Kill my Wi-Fi. And I must admit, the problems that we're having getting up and running with the Raspberry Pi is literally the hardest part of working with these things. Is that first connection. If you got a HDMI screen and a keyboard and you can just hook in the HDMI and get going, 'tis the easiest way to go. Also, we're working in a shared space on a public network, so we've also got the added difficulty of networking firewalls and whatnot.
Extended time.
Oh, extra time. Thank you very much. I like your voiceover, Alan. I need you to pop up and do that whenever it happens. I'm devastated that my my VirtualBox is not talking through to my network.
Doesn't matter, it's still drama on the stream. Just show your pain.
Yeah, there is much pain. So right now I'm in limbo because I've got this guy, I've got a Raspberry Pi connected to a Wi-Fi network my computer can't see, and I have a VirtualBox that won't let the internet connection through.
Got a comment. Punching flies is following you from those stalkers.
Oh, because the comments are off here. There we go. Definitely, Donkey Kong, definitely a possibility. In fact, if you jump onto if you actually get the DietPy image, it has optional and optimized software that you can install straight out the box. And one of those is the RetroPie. It'll set up your Raspberry Pi for RetroPie. So, yeah, to answer your question, you can go for it, dietpy.com. You'll see how to set that up, no worries. I want to give my Raspberry Pi another crack because I can't see John's mobile. I can only see John's mobile 5G. These 5G? These connect to 5G?
Cameron, I need you to...
Sorry? Oh, I should be right.
Cameron, I need you to look at the camera and say the fish are sleeping, like really dramatically.
I don't know. I feel weird now. What's in it for me?
Engagement, because someone asked that as a question. So.
Say, is that what the?
Yes. I am your FBI team, and that is what we need to say. Yeah,
what was it? What was it saying again?
The fish are sleeping in the water.
The fish are sleeping in the water.
There you go. It's finished.
Have I triggered? Have I triggered something? As like.
No. Just some guy wanted you to speak Finnish, but I denied him.
What's your Wi-Fi password again, Eric? 8.
Oh, we hooked on Cam. Basically, he thinks you can speak Finnish now. So basically, you have to say you can speak Finnish.
Yes, I can speak Finnish.
We're doing a bit of smoking here. So he thinks you can speak Finnish.
Not fluently.
I'm giving you the translation.
Oh, look at that. I can see my Cam Pi on this network now.
He just called you a devil.
The devil. Don't know about that. All right. So I've managed to use Fing to finally get access to my Raspberry Pi. So there's the address, 192.168.1.89. Okay. So that's a start. So now we're going to SSH into the Raspberry Pi. So what we're going to do to use that though is we're going to use VS Code. So if you're following along with the GitHub repo, set up your dev machine. You want to install VS Code and install the SSH plugin. There are a couple of ways you can SSH in actually to a Raspberry Pi. If you've got Windows Linux subsystem, Windows subsystem for Linux, you can actually do that as well. Or PuTTY is the other option. I don't know which one I want to do first. So for Mac and Linux users, you can just open up a terminal and you'll be able to go. So for Mac and Linux users, it'll literally be a matter of opening up a terminal like this and going SSH pi at, we're going to go in as root. And then you just want to enter your IP address for your Raspberry Pi. I'm going to do a demonstration.
Extended time.
Oh yes, extended time. Thank you very much for the extended time. And for Windows users, the easiest way to do it is using PuTTY. So I'll download PuTTY for the demonstration of Windows users because it is more difficult. However, if you've got Windows Linux subsystem on your Windows machine, I suggest booting up into that and using that for your SSH. So let's open up Putty, install that. Where put it?
Extended time.
Excellent. Thank you very much for the extended time. Okay, we're going to do SSH, and we're going to go 192.168.1.89 was our IP address, port 2022, and I'll just call it rpi for now. Save. Okay, let's see how we go. Yes. So we're going to log in as root, and the default password is dietpie. First time setup.
Gavin come actually from a moderator.
Oh, really? I'm actually now intrigued to try the built-in. What, with PowerShell or command line or both?
Time extended.
Command prompt. Okay. Is it just SSH? Damn, I spend so much time in the Linux space that yeah, I'm not up to date on.
Windows is slowly rolling out the next virtual machine thing. I haven't really used much of it.
I'm gonna run it as that. I actually think I've seen the issue with this before, maybe. Try run as admin. SSH. Yeah, it's because it's got this weird pathing thing happening. Yeah, I got Putty running now. It's good enough, but yeah, I have to look into the built-in SSH tools for sure. Thanks for the comment. All right, so this will take a little bit to set up, so we'll run through and do some packages and some updates and things. So that's running along smoothly. And this is just the first time setup thing for the Diet Pie. So basically runs through updates, gets packages, and then we're going to add some software that we need that are critical for development. For those in the room, have we managed to connect to a Wi-Fi network yet?
Puffifies needs to go to work. It's what you were saying.
Well, I connected to yours. It's all working.
Yeah, I'm trying to connect to that, so we're going to try that.
Yep. No worries. Thanks for coming on anyway. The work should take priority. So just to give everyone an overview, that's going to be updating. But effectively what we're going to do is once that's all set up, we'll be able to set it up with VS Code. So make sure you got VS Code installed. If you're just jumping on, check that you can jump on the GitHub link or the YouTube stream. I did run it as admin, and it still had fit. The problem seemed to be with the fact that it was sort of like half Windows, half Linux pathing. It was //
Time extended.
Thank you very much for the extended time. So yeah, right now, we'll just roll with Putty. Old Faithful. I actually, I don't think I have it on here, but I also have been playing with the new Windows command line where you can have the multiple tabs and you can have the subsystem running, PowerShell command line as just sort of the tabbed command line. Yeah, it works pretty good. But yeah, I must admit, I spend a lot more of my time in the Ubuntu WSL that I have on this machine. And probably more specifically that inside VS Code terminal. So yeah, once this is complete and we've got it set up, we're going to install some optimized software, one being Git, one being Build Essentials, and lastly, we're also going to put Python on there. I know we're going to be programming in Node.js, but some of the native packages, the native Raspberry Pi packages, need Python to build IO modules and things like that. So
Time extended.
thank you very much for the extension on the time. For those that don't already know, just you can catch up and follow along on the GitHub link, which you can access either in this chat or at blastfurnace.com.au. Hit view lesson and it'll take you to this this GitHub repo where you can use it as a template, basically fork it into your own, or you can just pull and run with it. And we've also got the steps for setting up the Pi or setting it up as a simulated Pi. Thank you very much again for the extended time. We're getting through the Raspberry Pi setup now. It shouldn't take much longer from here, and then I can show you the optimized settings. One of the main ones, as I said, was make sure we've got Git on here. I mentioned Build Essentials and Python, and we're also going to install Node Version Manager rather than just Node. And the reason being is Node Version Manager allows you to switch the version of Node.js that you're running, which I find really useful because often, especially when you're building some of these native packages, they won't have support maybe for the latest, or they'll only have support up to a certain level. So being able to just switch really quickly is really convenient. So this is up to your choice whether you want to help Diet Pi by uploading your data or not. I like to help them out. Send the survey data. And what's going to happen now is we're going to begin the setup. This is the first time setup. You only have to do this once, and then the Raspberry Pi will just work after this. So I'm going to set up a global password. And I'm going to set it up for everything. All right. Question here about serial. We particularly don't care about, at least for this tutorial. If you know what you're doing, you might want to turn it on, but realistically, just the default cancel is fine. All right. So here we are now. So now we're going to just add some optimized software. One cool feature it does have, the Diet Pi config does have, is built into it, you can enable a Wi-Fi hotspot. That is actually really convenient if you got the Raspberry Pi hooked into Ethernet and then you just want to actually connect directly to it with your phone, or if you just got it as a device that's not hooked into any internet at all and you're just running code on it that's serving up like an Angular app or something, you can then just have that out in the wild and just connect to it with your Wi-Fi hotspot and then interact with your device and your code through your own UI. So the Wi-Fi hotspot's really cool, and that is in the software optimized list. So we hit OK on that. You actually see you can go down. There's a heap of optimized software here for Diet Pi. You actually will recognize some of them as you read through. No Machine and Real VNC for that remote login. You got torrent engines. You've got.
Speaking of time engines, time extended.
Time extended, yes. Thank you very much.
Oh, 4 minutes. Damn, it's big.
So yeah, there's a lot of options here. Connection to my Pi is starting to lag up, which means there's a lot of people on this network now. So we're going to go back. Definitely have a look through the software optimized list and see what you can configure Raspberry Pi with using Diet Pi. Highly recommend. Now we're going to do the additional software is what's important. So what we're going to install is, let's go all the way down to, we definitely want build essentials, and we definitely want a Git client. Right now, they're pretty much the two. You will notice that Node.js is here, but like I said, we don't want to install Node.js. We're going to install Node Version Manager or MVM, which will be better for us to allow us to switch between versions. So they're really the only two. That's literally the only two settings I really change. And then you hit enter for install and OK to begin. So now the Raspberry Pi is going to be set up with our basically bare essentials, and it will reboot in a second, but it's also where they're going to come back in and add just a couple more bits of software. And if you're looking at the GitHub, you can move ahead if you want, or if you just come online, you can go backwards. '89. And you know what? The reason I knew it was my Raspberry Pi is because I changed the host name in the text file, and that host name came up on Fing. So I called it CamPi, and it came up with CamPi in Fing. So that was really cool. But don't turn your router off. Make me sad. I'm building my build essentials.
At least you have Reddit.
Sorry?
At least you have Reddit chat.
Yeah. The Reddit. I've got Reddit to keep me company.
At least I have you guys if I DC.
At least I have you if I DC.
Dance, monkey, dance.
More creepy fish sayings or something. All right, here we go. Build essentials, and then just the Git client. We should be on our way forward. Blast furnace for life. Time extended. Thank you very much.
15 seconds.
Another 15. Let's make use of it. Hopefully, it's not just staring at Raspberry Pi building Git.
That's why we have the face cam, so you can do things.
All right.
Have a conversation with you, make it intimate.
So the setup process, yeah, I really want to take you through it. I was thinking about coming with a pre-configured Pi. I probably could have done this is one I prepared earlier, sort of spiel and demo, but it doesn't take too long typically to get set up from scratch, and I just wanted to walk through it. It's basically in the final steps of completing now, and then we'll be able to reboot a couple more, and then what we'll do is when we log back in, we'll do it through VS Code. We'll get the SSH working on VS Code. This is when it's going to be. This is the cool part. The built-in plugin for VS Code, the SSH remote plugin. That's the really powerful part of developing with the Raspberry Pi. It allows you to work on your development machine, but when you're running the code and typing the code, everything's happening on the Raspberry Pi, and it's what makes testing it, writing it, deploying it fast. All right, we're up to the reboot. Rebooting now. Dropped out my connection, which is fine. Hopefully,
45 seconds.
Thank you very much for the time extension.
Yeah.
Raspberry Pi is rebooting. We'll give it a second.
Comment.
I do. In fact, not. I must admit, not as much since we've been under these COVID restrictions. with the gym being closed and whatnot. But we've got I set up some kind of home gym. In fact, at when my gym shut down, I did ask if I could borrow some of the equipment, and they kindly obliged. So I've had my garage decked out with rented gym equipment. So we should be able to connect to this Pi now. I'm going to take you through the SSH. So if you haven't already, you can install the remote SSH plugin. You're the worst, Owen. We got the extension.
You have to do it now.
What sort of pose?
Just an arm curl. Just an arm curl. The biggest arm. Just like you're looking for a beach ball.
Did it go that way? Or that way? All right, so we've got VS Code running. We've got VS. If you don't already have it, we've got you go into the extensions, and you should just be able to type SSH. First thing that comes up, remote SSH install. I've already got it installed, but that's all you should have to do. Let it install, reboot VS Code, whatever it needs to do. Then you get this little icon down here on the left-hand side, our Remote Explorer. What we're going to do is we're going to add a target. So we're going to add new, and here you want to type in basically SSH and then your user, which we're going to use as root, and then the IP address of our Raspberry Pi, which is going to be 192.168.1.89. So we go confirm, enter. That's saved that now, and you see it comes up in our little SSH target list. So what we can do is hit the plus folder, and it's going to try and connect to the Raspberry Pi. It'll ask us what platform. We're going to go Linux. Yep, we're going to confirm our fingerprint, and then put in our global password that we've set. Now SSH is being set up on the Raspberry Pi. You can open up the terminal. Debug console output.
Oh, the stream just caught up to the point. Cam's just flexing. There's a time delay, right? So the flexing just made it work. Yeah. Right. Oh man, after the flexing, we got another time extension.
It's alright, that's what we want. Time extensions. Yeah, for anyone watching the YouTube. Oh, well, the video's not on the YouTube stream, is it?
No, that's pure. So the Reddit doesn't have VODs, it's purely live. So, yeah, there will not be a recorded instance. So this is exclusive content.
Exclusive, yeah. It's the only time you'll see it. That's right. Well, so the setup for the SSH, first time you get it running on a new Raspberry Pi image, it does take a little bit because it's doing things. If we look at the details here, it's doing some downloads and set some stuff up on the Raspberry Pi. But after that, it's actually quite fast. Just the first time setup for the remote SSH. I don't know if we're all punishing the router as well.
Time extended, 25 seconds.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for the time extension. See if we can continue into perpetuity. So it's downloading something on the Raspberry Pi through the wireless and setting up. Like I said, this will be a one-time setup, and then the SSH is going to be quite fast from here on out. And what it'll allow us to do is this terminal window will look just like the Raspberry Pi console. And when we open up File Explorer, what we're going to see is just looks like a normal VS Code, directory structure, but it'll be on the Raspberry Pi, so it'll be the Raspberry Pi's directory structure. Just working us a little hard out. Busting its chops trying to get the SSH, whatever wget package is trying to get. feel like I'm going to get some pizza while I wait.
Remember, you have to dedicate
To who?
The chat. Anga ANGA Blade.
Anger Blade. Dedicate my first slice to you.
Idea, folks.
So while waiting for that, this repo, for those of you that are already familiar with Node.js, basically you can actually pull and run this repo on your computer as well. So it's not Raspberry Pi specific code by any means. You can pull it, basically npm install, and then I've got some good package tips down the bottom here. So npm start will just run the main TS. It'll serve up the what the project effectively is a bunch of Node.js code with for Express. So there's an Express server on there that's going to serve up a pre-built Angular app that we have as part of the repo. But we also have a comms class. I'll note this all in TypeScript as well. So it builds the TypeScript to JS and then runs the JS code. What will happen is it'll serve up the Angular app. It'll run a WebSocket comms class. That's going to communicate to the Angular app that's also got WebSockets. So that's how we're talking from the Node.js sort of back-end code, I guess you could say, to the front-end Angular app via WebSockets. The WebSocket app is a very basic app. It's basically got a command box and a send button, and you can just send commands back down. So it's sort of written as an example of how to create an Angular app that then talks to your Node.js code that's running. While it's installing, I'll give you a demo of the actual code base. Looks like I've dropped out or switched Wi-Fi network or something. Yeah, I lost your 2.4 gigahertz network, Eric. What's your password? Yeah, it's funny, the 2.4 gigahertz one's dropped out, and then I don't know if the Pi was like being connected to that specifically is now having a hard time. Yes, I got Reddit chat.
time extended to 15 seconds.
Thank you for the time extension. So can you still see it, the 2.4 gigahertz? So I've lost it. It's weird, eh? Oh yeah, I can see it now. I'll try again. I can't connect. Oh, connected, secured. Make up your mind. Okay. Come on. Second time lucky. Third, fifth.
Looks like you're gonna have to like flex to fill the time.
Gates food does on pizza.
Yep.
Both carbs look fats.
Carbon up, carb loading. Oh.
All that rolling, mate.
Okay. I think I've pushed through the network. I've spoken too soon. Battling. Stuck in some kind of loop, so I'm going to kill VS Code now and give it another crack.
Time extended 1 minute.
All right, thank you very much for the time extension. So, for anyone that's just joined us, we're basically SSHing into a Raspberry Pi with the VS Code SSH remote. It looks like we're in a perpetual state of network death. So I'm going to reboot the Raspberry Pi. So just unplugged and re-plugged in the Raspberry Pi. While I'm here though, let's have a look. I'm going to open up the code base and just show you guys what is in this code base, because this will run just on your Windows PC as well. So this is the demo project that I got. It's sort of a good template for using Raspberry Pi. Basically, what we have here is what I call the controller code, or the code that's it's all the code's running on the Raspberry Pi, but this is code that's, I guess, specifically staying and working with the Raspberry Pi. And what we also have in the build folder here is a dist folder, which is an Angular app. So whilst it's being served from the Raspberry Pi, the usage and interaction is going to be on the device that that is connected to the Raspberry Pi. So the Raspberry Pi is going to serve this app up to multiple clients potentially. So we're using an Express.js server to do that. So if we have a quick look at the code, our main is very, very simple. We effectively import our two classes that were built. I will note this is in TypeScript as well. And then we instantiate the classes. So comms, which is going to be our WebSocket communications. This is how we're going to talk to our front-end UI, our Angular app, and the Express server, which is actually going to serve the app. So the first thing I'm going to do now I'm in the project is just do a npm install, hopefully.
Tara asks, what are you making?
So right now we're just sort of demoing a good boilerplate and development setup for the Raspberry Pi. So right now I'm just taking you through the actual project that we put on the Raspberry Pi, but there's nothing Pi specific, I guess, in this project. So I'm also just running it on Windows as a demonstration. So here's the project. We've done an npm install. This is the main, like I said. Only has two components, the Express class and the comms class. Comms class is super straightforward. It's a WebSocket based class, and effectively facilitates devices connecting to this WebSocket server and handling messages that come from it. So to give you an overview, the app that I'll serve up in a second basically is an Angular app. WebSocket's running to and from this main Node.js code, and it's very basic. When a device connects, it sends a little message back to Angular to say connection successful, and then as the device sends messages to this WebSocket server, effectively uses this message on event, and console logs the message that gets received, and then jams the command into this switch statement. So right now we only have one command, which is echo. So if the command is echo, effectively the code just says, all right, just send that message straight back to Angular. And if it doesn't recognize the command, then it says bad command.
5 minutes remaining. Time for
So we've got 5 minutes remaining on the Reddit feed here. So if you want to keep following us along, check out the YouTube. Check out our YouTube link, and we've also got a Twitch stream. Link should be in the chat here. And the Express server is really, really basic. Literally, all it does is it picks up our folder it picks up our Angular project from the dist folder and serves it. The port that it's going to serve our WebSockets on is 2506, and our Express server initializes with port 1904. So in the package.json, I've got some useful npm scripts here. The first one we need to do is npm start, which is going to build all our TypeScript code and then run the code using Node. So we'll just go npm start. So built and ran. So basically, got the WebSocket running on 2506, and we've got the Node.js being served localhost 1904. So if we actually control click and follow that, you can see this is the Angular app now on the screen that is actually being served.
Time extended 1 minute.
Thank you very much for the time extension. So what we've got here now is the app being served, but the WebSocket communication isn't happening yet. And that's because in this case, it's going to be on localhost, but if you connected to your Raspberry Pi via your device and then tried to connect to this web page, you wouldn't want your WebSockets to connect on localhost. You actually want to connect them on the IP address of the Raspberry Pi. So in this basic UI, I have a connect command. So if you actually type connect and then just put in the IP address, the IP address of the Pi, but in our case, it's going to be, because we're running it on the same machine, it's going to be localhost, and the port, which you can see from the console window, is 2506 here. So if we go back to this app here, connect, we get a message, reply, connection successful, connected to the device. So now what we can actually do is tie the echo command, echo the standard hello world. And if we actually send that, it echoes it back to the Angular app. You can see here, echo hello world. And if we actually look into the console for our Node.js app running here, you actually see it shows you that it received that command, echo, with the data hello world. So now if we actually jump back in here, we can actually put a different command in here, say test, and then test data, any string after that. So this basically, what this input box does is it takes the first word as the command, separated by a space, and then anything after the first space is the data for that message. So if we go send, it actually replies error unknown command test, because we haven't actually defined the command test. You'll see it says it here, receive bad command, command test, and the data was test data. So if we wanted to actually facilitate using that command, we could actually add it here into the comms class. Now for the Reddit stream, we've got just under a minute left, so just wanted to say thanks everyone on there for watching, and thank you for the time extensions. If you want to follow us, please jump on the YouTube stream where we've got the screen capture going, and the Twitch stream as well. So, for example, let's just make a quick change to this. So if we click down in our Node.js window and hit Control-C, yes, to stop running the Node.js project. Come back into our comms class. This is under comms class.ts. What we can actually do is just add another case. All right, thanks Reddit guys. Catch you later.
2, 1.
So we can actually jump on here, and so what we can do is do a case for it. Let's say we want to use the test command. So we can do test, and rather than, we can change the command that we're going to send back to Angular to say test received, and let's change the data to successful test message. We can save that. And then we just run npm start again. It'll rebuild and rerun our app. Now, the only thing you'll have to do is when you go back to this, it looks like it's still running well. But in reality, it's actually, the WebSocket's dropped out because we closed our WebSocket server and reopened it. So what we actually do is have to rerun our connect localhost 2506. And now we should be able to test our test command. So test whatever, doesn't matter because we're not doing anything with the data. And we get test received, successful test message. And then if we put in a command we didn't know, we'll get a bad command. So that's a sort of run through the demo of what the demo app is doing. So one of the cool things we can do, and this works for Raspberry Pi as well. So what we can actually do is run a script here called npm run. We're going to do package Windows. What that's going to do is it's going to build our Node.js code here into a Windows exe, effectively. And it's got the first time it runs, it's got to actually fetch the version of Node.js that you're running with, that it gets packaged up with. So while it's doing that, I'm going to see if I can connect to my Pi again. No, it's in some sort of bad state. Damn, it's in some sort of bad loopy. Disappointing. I think I have insiders on here actually. So what I'll do is I'll try VS Code insiders. Allow access. Retry. Linux. Okay, come on. Not happy, not happy.
show Reddit thread. Showcasing skills.
All right. Welcome everyone to anyone that's jumping on the stream. We're doing Node.js development on a Raspberry Pi. So basically what we've done, we've just built the window exe. On this window here, you can see it's finished and it's built it, and then in this bin folder is where it puts the built package. So if we actually go reveal in File Explorer, get this nice little exe. So now if we actually just double click on this exe, allow access, it's serving the UI on localhost 1904. Which is here. So if we actually refresh this now, so now our Angular app is actually talking to the built exe and not the development version of the app. So what we want to do is same as before, connect, still on localhost, so that's fine. 2506, connect, connection successful, and now we can run our echo test. And it echoes back the message hi down here in the bottom. So that's kind of a step through of like and then you can see the console logging here on the window of the exe. So we can Control C to close that. So that's kind of a breakdown. So what we'd be able to do if we had this going on the Raspberry Pi is actually npm run build package dash Linux. So if you check out the package.json here, you'll see the commands that I put in there. And so you got package.linux, which runs the package npm package with the Linux flag. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get.
By sheer virtue of being on the late night show time slot, you were on the front page.
All right. So.
Your piddly audience of 7 watchers.
So yeah, if anyone wants to check out the live stream, we've got a bit of a screen share going of what's actually happening with Node.js development on Raspberry Pi. We just had some network dramas to get the Raspberry Pi talking to the computer because we're in a public space. So what we're doing is the event is called the Blast Furnace, and so what we do is we basically once a month come and show people some interesting things to do with hardware and software, and I guess one of the downsides is we're on sort of a public business network. So we've had some network issues getting the Pis talking to our development machines. But we've been able to still go through and sort of demo the code. The code that we're getting running on the Pi and all the steps to do it is documented in the GitHub repo README, and the GitHub repo README is also a great template for getting started with Node.js projects on a Raspberry Pi, or it's just a good probably template for creating Node.js apps that serve up a web front end. The repo does have a built Angular app in it. And it has a good README on how to set up your computer with either a simulated Raspberry Pi environment using VirtualBox or actually just setting up your Raspberry Pi using DietPi. DietPi is our preferred image. It's lightweight, no bloatware, no crap you don't need on it, and it also gives you a lot of automation and things straight out of the box, like Wi-Fi hotspot, which is really cool if you want to have your Raspberry Pi running standalone without internet connection. You want to be able to connect to it without having to be through routers and network and all that. So it's a big advantage of the Raspberry Pi hotspot. I'm just going to get my network running again. I'm going to retry. yep, we're going to have issues because it got halfway through the VS Code. Further create hard link, file exists. So what we're going to do is I'm going to actually try and kill this. So if I actually, let's go putty, I'll go web SLSR. So if I go SSH root at 192.168.1.89. Yes, my password. I'm going to go remove. Ugh. Whatever that is, that's what's stopping us from VS Code from working. So I'm just going to kill that. I'm going to remove that. All right. So now we're going to reload this window and see what happens. Downloading with wget. Here we go. Kill this SSH. So now we're basically setting up the Raspberry Pi with the VS Code SSH file, hopefully. Usually it doesn't take too long, but like I said, we've been battling with bad network connections, and I'm gonna get another piece of pizza while I'm waiting. So for those that have just joined us or haven't been following along, links and resources in the description, in the chat feed there. We've been basically going through setting up a development machine for programming Node.js on Raspberry Pi using VS Code and SSH. Add extension for it. And if you have a good network connection, it works really well. Basically, you have VS Code running on your computer, but you have this SSH extension hooked in. So when you go to the File Explorer, it's actually the files running. It's actually the files and directories on the Raspberry Pi. And when you're writing the code in your VS Code IDE on your development machine, it's actually being written and saved to the Raspberry Pi in real time. So when you're hitting save and run, it's running on the Raspberry Pi. So it's a really fast way to develop and test code on the Raspberry Pi. The GitHub link is a really good starter template if you want to get going with a Node.js app that serves up an Angular dist folder with Express.js. And then another tutorial which we'll do later on is basically how to build that Angular app. But right now it's just built and pushed. Yeah, literally the only problem I haven't been able to solve is getting my VirtualBox to talk to my network. All right, looks like VS Code has finally gone through. So right now on the screen, you can see I'm SSH'd into 192.168.1.89. Now, if I open a folder, you actually see it's just a root folder of the Raspberry Pi. Like I don't have all my Windows folders and options and things. So hit OK. It'll ask me for my password again. Oh, thank you very much for the time extension. So we're here now. We made it. Notice when I open the terminal, it's not the Windows terminal, it's the Raspberry Pi's terminal. And it's running DietPi. We can see the temperature of the Pi. We can see the LAN IP, Pi model. We can run Raspberry Pi style commands from here now. And so one of the ones we want to do, app get install Python. Python's installed. Sweet. Now let's set up Node Version Manager on the Raspberry Pi. This is important. If you go back to the GitHub repo, pretty basic set of commands here for the Raspberry Pi. So if you go to installing NVM in the README, and then installing on your Raspberry Pi, first we want to clone the Mvm project. So just copy that command, paste it in here. Actually, Git Clone might hate me here because I haven't set my global. It'll hate me when I try and do pushes and pulls, maybe. Remember how to do that.
Time extended.
Yeah, thanks very much for the time extension. Yep, all right. We'll have to set this. You want to set your Git config on your Raspberry Pi as well. Oops. Delay in SSH. So I'll set up our global Git config because that's going to be important in a second when we start pushing and pulling code. All right. So now we've cloned NVM. Great. Now we just want to run these set of commands so we can just use the Mvm command. Ugh. If I can do Control C properly, we'll be in business. All right. So the only thing is we have to restart the terminal. So what we'll do is we'll just trash it. If you do terminal, new terminal. Now, if we actually test it, we can go mvm -- version. We can see the Node Version Manager is installed. So now we can actually add whatever version of Node we want. For the purposes of this library, we're just going to use the latest, but you could use any version. And to check what versions are available, is it dash remote? These are all the versions of Node.js that you could use. And with 12.18 being the latest, so you could go mvm install 12.18.0 if you wanted, or if you want the latest long-term support release, you can just go --lts. Now I'll download and install that. If you go to the repo and have a look, I actually got some tips in there as well, so the commands you want to use. Matching checksums, we're using the latest. So now if I type node v, you can see we're using 12.18. And if I wanted to, I could install a second version of Node.js, and then by going mvm use and the version number, I can then set what version of Node I'm running everything against. So that's all done. Node's installed, Python's installed. So now we want to get our repo on here. So let's go back here, and we're just going to do a git clone. So we'll copy the URL. But what we're actually doing, instead of using the command line, we actually use Git's VS Code's built-in tools. So we can view the command palette, git clone, paste our Git repo in there. Yep, I'm going to put in root, okay. Now this where it may ask me for my Git credentials unless I've already put them in. It may ask you for your GitHub credentials here. So it's just cloning it in, and now I'll say open that workspace. So I'll open our Node.js project on the Raspberry Pi. So now we're open in our project. So you can actually see the path here is in the Node.js Raspberry Pi project. We'll install our dependencies, npm install. So once we install and run this is where I'll show you something kind of cool will happen. We'll be running the project. The Raspberry Pi will be serving the web page from its IP address. We'll be able to load it up and connect to it from our development machine. And this is where having the Wi-Fi hotspot comes in handy, because you can connect to the Wi-Fi hotspot then on the Raspberry Pi and basically have the Raspberry Pi serve you up neat little UIs, however you make them, whatever front-end framework you want to use, and then interact with the device at the device level using the Node.js code. Likewise, we can run the package just like we did a demo where we packaged it for Windows a second ago. We'll be able to package it for Linux, and it will do a specific ARM build that will work on a Raspberry Pi. So you can actually fully develop the app, package it up, and then just send that to other people to use. The only caveat with package that I've come across is, so 9 out of 10 times when you're writing packages or writing code for Raspberry Pi, you're going to want to use packages that use the I/O. That usually has to have some kind of native build to make it work. When you package up your Node.js app, you'll get the executable file. You'll also need to do an npm install just for the native modules and sort of zip them up with your exe. Otherwise, it'll fail to run. But if you do actually zip it up with your exe, the package, the way that package works is, or PKG works, is it'll actually look for your dependencies in and around where the app is running from. So it's not amazing, but the workaround's not that hard. It's just you have to have the Node modules for any native packages. So that's npm installed. So we should be able to do npm start, which is going to build our TypeScript into JavaScript, and then it's going to run our main.ts, which becomes our main.js. So now it's running. Server for app listening on HTTP localhost 1904. So now what we can do, well, theoretically, if we jump into a web browser on our development machine and we actually go 192.168.1. 89 1904 was the port for our Express server. We actually get the Angular app. So this app is now, we're interfacing with it on our development machine, but it's actually being served from over the network from the Raspberry Pi. So the only caveat now is, like before, we were connecting our WebSocket comms channel using localhost. Now we're going to have to use our, we're actually going to have to use the IP address. So we can go connect. We're going to have to go 192.168.1.89, 2506, send, and now we've got a successfully connected device. So now we've got our dev machine talking via WebSockets to the terminal running on the Raspberry Pi over the network, and run our hello world. Successful. And if we actually go back to our SSH window, you can see the commands are coming through on the Raspberry Pi. So that is all being served up now. Basically, to finish it, we can basically do our npm run package Linux. So this is interesting. So what it's done here is it's looked for, it's going to package it all up with the ARM version of Node.js, which it couldn't find. So now it's going to download the source and build it. And then what this will allow us to do is to have a built app that just runs. So we don't, if we wanted to share this with someone or have this run on someone else's Raspberry Pi, they don't need to pull the whole project and have all the node modules. It's just going to be this nice little built executable, and effectively it's a lot lighter weight. But yeah, the main thing here is that we've got the Raspberry Pi set up with a lightweight image, .py. It's got all the dependencies now. We're SSH'd into it through VS Code, so we can just write our code and test it on the Pi on the fly, and we can build the app in a way that can be distributed. How far did you guys get? Did you get connected to your Raspberry Pis? So you connected, and did you run through the setup process for .py? The optimized software, did you install any of that? Like the Git and Build Essentials and all that? Python? Yeah. You can, because you don't need it for this demo, but so then, if you're at that, so were you able to get SSH with VS Code working? Yeah, because I had a bit of trouble with it, but it's only because it failed the first time, because it takes ages. The wget takes ages, but it came through, like it went through on mine anyway. Oh, right. Oh, so you're both working off zeros? Oh, yeah, it's going to be slow. Yep. Yeah, it's going to be slow. But yeah, we can sit here and watch this make, but not really any more points to cover. Like I said, if you want to follow, have a crack yourself, there is a GitHub repo here. You can actually access that by going to blastfurnace.com.au and seeing clicking on View Lesson. In the README, I've got a few instructions there on how to set everything up, set up your development environment, talk to Raspberry Pi, packages.
Can you give Miguel, Texas, like some fan service by putting on your heaviest Australian accent, please?
Oh, my heaviest Australian accent.
Yeah, so just disappoint you, Miguel, and just go into your,
curry character.
My what character?
Your curry character.
My curry character.
Heaviest Australian.
I don't know. I'm worried it'll blend into something a bit racist.
Doesn't matter. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Give the people what they want.
I don't know if I like this dance monkey stuff, Owen. Like, I feel like you're into it. I don't know. I don't know for myself. I just want people to be happy with my Node.js knowledge being imparted upon them. All right, so I don't think there's much more for us to do, really. How many minutes have we got left on our Reddit? I kind of want to use it.
Oh, we've got 20 minutes.
20 minutes?
You do the fanciest thing, but, you have too much self-respect for that.
I have too much self-respect for being a monkey with a...
Dude, we're at the bottom of the social media ladder. We have to do whatever it takes to get popular.
We're going to do it.
And that means putting on your Australian accent.
We're going to do it on our own terms, though, right?
Yeah.
Programmers at the bottom of the social ladder.
Yeah. I can say, "G'day, mate."
Okay.
Say g'day, Miguel.
Throw another shrimp on the barbie.
Dance.
Oh, I'm thinking of the. Oh, look, Miguel thought you meant curry, as in Indian, but he actually meant curry, which is a place. It's not far from where we are at the moment. It's a small suburb, and it's known for relatively thick Australian accents, I guess. It was interesting because I didn't want to do Australian accent to seem racist, and then you made me look like I was ripping on Indian people. No, we're talking about curry. Not hot curry.
Oh man, they gave you like 50 seconds of airtime. You got to do it now.
50 seconds?
Yeah,
that's
man,
a lot.
That's like at the top of the bar.
My best Paul Hogan impression. All I can think of is the Dumber and Dumber guy. When he's like, "Where are you from?"
Just do the classic. That's not a Raspberry Pi. This is a Raspberry Pi.
That's not a Raspberry Pi. This is a Raspberry Pi. This is a Rock Pi. I'm actually a fan of the Rock Pi of the Raspberry Pi.
I do like that one. It was like,
"Oh, where are you from?" "Austria." "Oh, g'day, mate. How about we throw another shrimp on the barbie?"
I am cowboy. Yippee whippy snippy.
Oh dear.
I'm a racist.
But yeah, as far as the Node.js stuff, I sort of got through it now. It looks like I was on the verge of building, and then I'd say network error or something. But that's what we're battling with all night. Definitely the GitHub repo. Wow. 5:48 a.m. Still drinking beer.
Really?
Yeah.
That's hardcore.
It is. I'm impressed.
Respect. Within limits.
Yeah, within moderation. Yeah. All right. The challenge is out there. You guys gotta. What time? I wonder what time did Miguel start drinking. That's when you guys That's when you guys can start. It's a Friday tomorrow, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. So we just start now and just get all the way through till tomorrow.
Thursday in America, so.
Oh, Godfather just joined. You got to explain the Australian accent.
So I actually want to explain the real reason we're here, which was to develop with Node.js on Raspberry Pi. But we just sort of wrapped it up. But if you go through the comments, you'll see the links.
There's a VOD on YouTube.
Miguel started at noon. You guys.
Oh,
But yeah, to the Godfather. Yeah, it's we were doing basically setting up your computer to develop using Node.js on a Raspberry Pi, and yeah, we just sort of finished up. There's the GitHub repo link, and we also have a YouTube stream at the moment. We're going to turn that off soon.
Now we've got like 16 minutes, man. Or 15 minutes. We've been here on Calendar. We just got on, so we got plenty of time.
Yeah.
So you just have 15 minutes of sick bands.
And the cleaners are going to budge in here at 9 too.
All right. Technically, we've got till 9 then.
Alright, well that's 10 minutes. So that's 10 minutes of flexing, I guess.
So I guess we can, I mean, for those that are watching that don't really know what it is, Blast Furnace is an event that we run in Australia in Warners Bay, and we run it once a month, and it's basically a free event that people can come along and learn to code and play with different bits of hardware, different languages. Each month we have a different presenter and that talks about a topic, and the goal is basically to help people get familiar with technology, network with local industry tech heads, and just generally get their hands dirty. So that's what the Blast Furnace is, blastfurnace.com.au, and what we're trying to do is grow the tech ecosystem here in Newcastle, which is where we're based. We have another platform called Cypherlinks. We'll share the link to that. What we're trying to do to help people track their development as a coder is create a website that provides an always up-to-date online resume. And that's what Cypherlinks is. It connects with a whole bunch of third-party integrations that represent you as a coder. So
essentially you get to bypass the tech assessment sort of side of things, and you can just sort of upload the projects that you've worked really hard on in the past, and then basically have a visual representation of your skills as a coder.
Not the UK, no.
Oh yeah, we get that a lot. I was in Germany, got that a lot. I'd say I'm in Newcastle now. Don't sound like you're from the UK.
Yeah.
Sound like you're German. Do it. Do it for the camera.
German?
Yeah, do it. Just speak a bunch of German to the camera. Really confuse.
Do we actually have any German?
No, just really confuse the hell out of a girl. Do it. We're at the bottom of the ladder, man. They'll do whatever it takes to get those likes.
But we were on the front page of this thing, right, a second ago.
Because no one else is on. It's like a
I don't care.
race.
I don't care. That's still a win. I still came first.
Besides that one, it's the Australian way. We always win and everyone else falls over.
Yeah.
Oh, the Stephen Bradbury.
Yeah, we Stephen Bradbury this stream. We got on the front page.
If nobody knows who Stephen Bradbury is, please look that up.
Yeah.
It is the proudest gold medal we've ever won in the Winter Olympics.
It's probably the only real way to win a gold medal. Like anything else is just, I'm not impressed. The Stephen Bradbury gold medal.
Oh my god, Hunting Flies has followed us all across all the streams. He's still here.
Oh, nice.
Godfather asks a relevant Node.js question. So answer that one.
Yeah, so that's right. So we're running Node.js on the Raspberry Pi, and not only running it, but building it into an executable that can be distributed to other Raspberry Pis that don't necessarily have Node.js on them. So, but the more important part was setting up the computer, your desktop machine as a development environment for it, and using VS Code and its SSH extension to connect to the Raspberry Pi. So you're coding on the computer, but it's everything's running on the Raspberry Pi, so you sort of get the best of both worlds. And yeah, the Node.js package PKG allows you to build that up into a nice little ARM executable. You can just then get that running on all your Raspberry Pis. That's sort of what we went through. So yeah, definitely say we'd fall into the nerd category. I think. I like to think the Blast Furnace has a cooler brand than that, but yeah, I'm happy to myself to sit in that category.
It's more likely you end up working for a node. Let's be honest.
If anybody wants to throw us some love too on Instagram, it would be awesome. Only got a little following, but it'd be nice so we can keep reminding you guys when we're doing the next meetup.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's _ blast furnace on Instagram, and then you'll be able to keep up to date when we've got everything coming out. So
Is that
hopefully we get to
Instagram
see
or
you.
Twitter? Well, both.
That's Instagram. Yeah, that's both actually.
Both. Yeah. So Twitter's the same handle. So if you want to jump on there and follow us, you'll get the next one. Like I said, they're once a month.
Yep. It'll be fun. I hope we see all of you guys back here next month.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
great.
Hopefully we get a bit of next month. We might do a bit of actual UI development with Angular at the front end. So with this Node.js repo that we got here, it has an Angular app built into it, just for testing purposes. But you can what you can do is build that app yourself, obviously, and we're going to take you through that. Melbourne or Sydney? Definitely closer to Sydney.
All right, Miguel is asking you a good question, which could, set off relation to you. Do you choose?
Melbourne or Sydney, as in my favourite place to go, do you reckon? Or the NRL team I support?
I don't know, I think you mean cities, like one city.
So Melbourne, from a civil engineering perspective, is much better. Like, it's just laid out properly. However, Sydney is much closer to me, and I feel like that's my home team. Like, if I've got to pick between Sydney and Melbourne, yeah, that's my home team. Oh, sweet. Yeah, that's really interesting. So, well, the SSH remote extension is definitely my favorite extension, just because we do a lot of that development on the Raspberry Pis and other sort of ARM devices.
Godfather is apparently part of the team that manages the VS Code marketplace.
Yeah, just addressing that. So yeah, that's pretty cool. VS Code, yeah, VS Code is by far my favorite IDE. We're sort of in the Node.js space and the Angular development space a little bit, but we're also doing a lot of Python, C, and yeah, I just find VS Code just awesome. And there's sweet extensions for it. One of my favorite extensions actually is Git Lens. So being able to go through the code and actually see the lines that have who's changed what line at what time, just sort of there faintly in the background. Git Lens, highly recommend that one. We're also massive Firebase fans, so we push we get Firebase to run all our Angular sites that we develop. Can you link in Cypherlinks into the chat? Just cypherlinks.com. So Cypherlinks is an Angular app built in the Firebase backend, and if you're a coder out there, have a look. It's basically what we're trying to do there is a way for coders to generate an automatic resume for free, no charge. There's no paid tiers or anything like that. CYFERLINX.com.
Not AU?
Nope. So yeah.
Melbourne seems like a pretty.
Yeah, I probably have to agree with that. It probably is a pretty city. But there's like a lot prettier places than that. In fact, if you got over here and you just wanted to go to paradise on Earth, Broome is where you want to go. It's right at the top of Western Australia. Just spectacular, like probably the best beaches I've ever seen. That's what I recommend. I was there once. I saw Todd Sampson, the body hack guy.
You got 5 minutes left.
I was like sitting there in Broome at a cafe and looked over, and there's Todd Sampson there with his family. So I was like, don't know. I'm sure a lot of celebs have been there, but it's the most picturesque place I've seen. Yep, yeah, New Zealand. Also agree. Been all the way around New Zealand. Also been on a ski trip or two to Queenstown. And they're also doing pretty well on the whole COVID virus. Pretty much COVID free. I think all their restrictions are lifted.
What was that count? Like in the hundreds?
Well,
Pretty low considering.
they haven't had any new cases for a fortnight, so they actually got like all their restrictions are off, except for international travel,
Yeah.
which I expect will stay on for a lot of
Months.
years. I heard the like normal international travel sort of flow across the world is like not due to be back up and running like to 100% until 2023.
Wow.
But then again, our government also said that a lot of these things were going to be in place for 6 months. And it's like,
What is it? We're in our third month, fourth month?
yeah, third.
Thanks for joining us so far.
Yes, yeah. So with the blast furnace streams, yeah, we'll keep running them with this format.
Second Thursday.
It's the second Thursday of every month. Yep, that's right.
Now 3 minutes left. Do an outro. Plug your stuff.
Yeah. So coming in our last 3 minutes now, and then we're gonna be out. Thanks for coming on. Yeah, for those of you that just come on recently, you just caught sort of the tail end of what's been basically a 2.5 hour sort of Node.js session. Like I said, check out the GitHub link if you do want to go back and have a look at what we did and how to set up your machine for Node.js development on Raspberry Pi. There is a YouTube stream of this as well. Large majority of it is going to be me messing with or battling with network issues, but if you get towards the end, that's where the gold will be. There's where we get the SSH connected and the Raspberry Pi are running the code. Follow us, like I said, on the Blast Furnace page, blastfurnace.com.au. The handles, Instagram and Twitter are _blastfurnace, and you'll be able to see when we run the next events, and jump on the YouTube streams if you want to see the actual screen capture, and the Reddit will have the video link. If we can get to the point where we can get the screen capture and the video link both through Reddit, we'll definitely sort that out, but I don't believe it's enabled yet.
Still in prototyping.
Yeah, it's still prototyping, right. Any last mentions? Yeah, if you want to see just a little project we've been working on, cypherlinks.com, always up to date online resume for programmers. Basically jump on, connect all your third-party platforms, and the site generates a resume for you that you can share with recruiters or whoever. Free to use. We're just trying to get that right. So if anyone can jump on and give us feedback, that'd be great.
1 minute left.
And yeah, with regards to the blast furnace, it'll be in a month's time. So second Thursday of July, we'll be back again. And
I'll be keeping the seat warm with my weekly streams, doing makerspace stuff.
Alan will be keeping his seat warm doing the makerspace on the Reddits.
Yeah, on the Reddit, on the Twitch, on the YouTube.
All right.
Links everywhere.
No worries. Thanks very much for everyone's time, minutes. We'll catch you next time.
There's 20 seconds. You got 2 comments. Let's see if we quickly fix them.
We've got Miguel. You had enough beers yet? Are you getting a couple more? Don't know. Miguel's a bit loose. I like Miguel.
8 seconds.
All right. Countdown. Thanks very much. Thanks everyone for coming. Blastfurnace.com.au.